Welcome back. Well, to talk about the Qantas scandal, let's bring in now Sarah Henderson, Shadow Minister for Education, and Labor Senator Tony Sheldon. Terrific to see both of you. Tony, Alan Joyce announced his departure today 2 months early. This is obviously designed to stem some of the tide of the terrible PR that the airline has been receiving. What questions do you think the Qantas board still needs to answer? And do you think the chairman, Richard Goyder, should quit as well?
Look, I think it's very clear, and that is that, somebody walking away with $24 million and a 2-month early reprieve to take his retirement to an earlier stage is no accountability whatsoever. I mean, $24 million for getting it wrong, and a board that's backing him in all the way through this whole process of turning around and misusing the $2.7 billion that the previous government spent on Qantas for Australian taxpayers' money. And to have Richard Goyder say he's one of the leading lights of CEOs in Australia and should be revered for his performance at Qantas. Well, his performance at Qantas has meant that people have been stranded at airports, their baggage has been lost, their workforce has been outsourced regardless of billions of dollars being spent to keep the workforce connected with Qantas. And of course, we've seen customers constantly having their planes either delayed or cancelled, and the action now with the ACCC. But Goyder has to take accountability, and the board. There's a remuneration board there at Qantas with a number of directors that have awarded this fellow, the ex-CEO, $24 million for being the most unpopular company in Australia.
Yeah,
now, under my rule of law, that's outrageous.
Yeah. Sarah Henderson, the Coalition has just tonight won a vote in the Senate to have an inquiry into the Albanese government's decision on Qatar Airways. What will you be trying to find out here?
Well, Sharri, good evening and great to join you. And this is a very big win for the Coalition and to the Shadow Minister, Bridget McKenzie. We will be inquiring first and foremost into why the Albanese government has not shown due respect for the cost of living crisis that Australians are facing with, of course, increasing airfares. So in blocking Qatar flights, and that's what the inquiry is all about, we want to know what impact this has had on the economy and what drove this decision. I mean, this is, Senator Sheldon talks about accountability. Well, where is the accountability of the Albanese government? We have seen absolutely none. It has done nothing to step in and say to Qantas, we have had enough. We are not going to put up with these high airline prices. And now, of course, the ACCC has stepped in and taken legal action. So it's a big win in the Senate today, and we are going to scrutinise the Albanese government's failure to unblock Qatar flights very, very closely, which, of course, is driving up the price of international travel.
Tony Sheldon, you were grilling Alan Joyce in the Senate inquiry about a week or so ago, and you managed to extract that admission from Alan Joyce that the amount of flight credits owing was closer to $500 million rather than the $370 million he was admitting. But Tony, is there a personal element to this as well for you? You were head of the TWU in October 2011 when Alan Joyce grounded the Qantas fleet. So does your history go back that far, and do you bring that animosity into this pursuit?
Look, I might say I bring that insight into Qantas and how they've been operating. It's nice to see, unfortunately, under the circumstances that so many other Australians have also seen the bully boy tactics that this company has operated in its operations and how it's applied it to customers and not only its workforce in Australia. This is a company that has gone rogue, and it's got a board that's gone rogue as well. But there is accountability that needs to happen, and that happens at the shareholders' meeting as well. They need to be held to account for the fact that they've allowed $24 million to be paid to their CEO when the company's reputation is down the gurgler. And giving him a 2-month early retirement and still giving him $24 million means the remuneration board, those directors, and the chair of the board, Richard Goyder, have to be also held to account for the dismal event and effect that they've had under the Joyce leadership
I
and giving him the policy go-ahead.
apologise for interrupting, but I just want to be clear what you're actually saying here. Do you think he shouldn't be paid that $24 million? Are you asking for that payment not to go ahead?
That payment should absolutely not be going ahead, that $24 million for Alan Joyce. And Richard Goyder has responsibility, along with the board, to turn around and stop it. And if they don't, then board members' heads should roll. And I'll just add this, if they get 2 strikes out, then there'll be a spill of that board. And if any shareholder is worth any value, they'll make sure that they rectify this terrible, dismal event that's happening at Qantas.